Hello, this is Trina. I thought it would be really awkward to take a video while we're boarding the aircraft because it's like a regular airplane that anyone would take, so the only difference would be that everyone's going to be in uniform on board. I'm hoping that once I actually get overseas, I adjust quickly, but yesterday sucked. Saying goodbye to Tessa was rough.
Usually I make dinner for you.
That's true. Usually you do make dinner.
But you make me tea in the morning when you are getting ready for work.
That is part of the routine. It just seems like such an easy thing that I don't really think about it anymore.
It'll be harder. I've never even lived by myself.
I am happy that you have roller derby, you have those girls there.
My goal is to be a really awesome player by the time you're back so that you can watch me in my prime.
If it's just love in every glass I'm drinking, we're like one and without you I'm sinking. I'm always shining next to you.
Before you leave, definitely just want you to know I love you.
I love you.
We were definitely like best friends.
And then worst enemies.
Worst enemies
and then
too.
Best friends.
Yeah.
We even had kind of like a soldier type situation. Like for 3 or 4 years we were soldiers for Halloween.
Yeah.
And we would always be like climbing through the bushes and jumping over
The
fences
spy
and stuff.
adventure.
Oh yeah, being a spy, that's what it was. We were resourceful children.
Resourceful.
Your internal drive has always been something that I really respected and motivates me to try to like emulate that. Even though you're my little brother, like it's cool to watch someone be that driven.
Thanks. So yeah, I'll be coaching her through her first deployment. Basically, step by step, helping her,
Yep.
helping her succeed.
Have to call you every day and be like, what do I do next? I mean, it's always like kind of thrown out there, especially in the pre-deployment training, that there's a possibility you could be taken hostage. There's a possibility that you could be captured as prisoner of war. And one thing that I found interesting about the training was that you're supposed to tell your family about this and prepare you in the event that I am captured. Like if the media were to contact you and wanted a comment, you're supposed to limit it to the fact that you hope that I'm going to be okay and that you love me and that you miss us, or miss me. And you're not supposed to like ask for the government to do anything or say anything bad about the Air Force, or because that'll basically just be turned into propaganda. So just in that situation, remember to just keep it personal and not about the organization that I'm about or that I'm serving. Keep it about me and keep it basically that you want to give me back.
Now we're just talking about craziness.
25 miles an hour.
It's a small chance that would happen, but it's just something you gotta think about.
It's like the worst. That's like the worst, so I'm not gonna put any energy to that. It's allergy season. Those allergies, man. Wow. No, I don't want to think about it because like fear only makes a wolf look bigger.
Let's go get some nachos. My parents always encouraged the military as an option because my dad was Army enlisted, and my response was always, Dad, I'm not going to be in the military, but here I am. It is pretty difficult to get into the Air Force Academy because of the amount of people that apply, but it's all paid for, so it was like a really great way to get college paid for and to have a job guaranteed after college.
I was in the Navy, and I joined to see the world. You know, that was the late 60s, early 70s. I was like a little hippie. And my mother was like, no, you don't. And she showed me a letter from one of my friends who was in Greece and in the Navy. And I was like, oh my God, I'd love to go there. So I went out and I talked to the recruiter, signed up. I was at boot camp like 2 days later. I wanted to be an air traffic controller. Unfortunately, women at that time were not allowed. They were only allowed to be typists and medical personnel. So I had to type. I don't want to type.
When I was in high school, beginning of it, I did not know what I was going to do with my life. And 2 months into my senior year, a recruiter called me up. Hey, would you like $40,000 for college? And I just felt like joining the military would put the burden of college on my Uncle Sam instead of my mom. So my summer after high school, I was doing my boot camp thing. And I served during the September 11th attack. I was a communications specialist, running cables, putting up satellites, and my basic job, once all the hard, heavy work was put up in the camouflage, was to stare at the computer and make sure the lights stayed green. And if they didn't, I'd run tests, switch out circuit cards.
I think I was turning 18 or something, and I told my grandmother, I can't change the world. Nobody can change the world. It's just awful. And she said, your job is not to change the world. She said, your job is to do one good thing every single day. And she said, if everybody does that, then the world will change. So that's been my mission. Back in 2001, when I think every American was affected by the attack in New York, I wanted to do something. And it's like, what could I do? I didn't know what to do. I thought, well, maybe I would enlist, but I had children and I was too old. And so then I met this guy that said, no, you know, we really need chaplains, especially female chaplains, and because you're an ordained minister and I have a master's degree, he goes, you could come into the California State Military Reserve. I was able to join the military and to use my education and my skills and my gifts to help. So I went through basic training, I joined, and it's been an extraordinary experience being able to serve in the capacity of a person who has not been deployed.
I joined the Air Force when I was finishing my doctorate. I'd never thought to be in the military before, but when I was looking at training opportunities, my professor said it was a real good opportunity. They offered an assignment overseas, and that was pretty exciting. I was in the Air Force for 14 years. One of my tours was in Turkey. Came back here to the States after that and took another assignment and got deployed to Afghanistan, to Bagram. Now I'm working with the VA as a psychologist.
My name is Tammy Duckworth. My father served in the Army and the Marine Corps. Hoorah! A Vietnam vet, his family has worn our nation's uniform since the American Revolution. My husband is an Army officer, and my brother saved lives in the Coast Guard. I was able to earn my own commission as an Army officer, and I became an assault helicopter pilot, working my way up to command a Black Hawk helicopter company. In 2003, my National Guard unit was mobilized, and I became one of the first Army women to fly combat missions in Iraq. Almost a year into my tour, I was wounded and recovered at Walter Reed with other wounded warriors. Some of us had obvious injuries. Others had scars on the inside that were less visible, but no less real. At the hospital, I realized my new responsibility to honor the buddies who saved me by serving our military men and women. And I became the director of the Illinois Department of Veterans Affairs. Don't you think it's time that we stopped being surprised that America's daughters are just as capable of doing their jobs and defending liberty as her sons?
I always want to join the military to see the world. So my brother was in the military and I just managed to join him and I signed up for the Navy. I was expecting to join the military to become a computer specialist and doing something that I thought I would really, really love to do and perhaps looking forward to make a career out of it. And as I move on and going through all those trainings in the boot camp and all those trainings for my job, and I realized that, oh my God, this is not what I really want to sign up for. The lifestyle completely blew my mind because what we've learned in the boot camp pretty much is not exactly the same what I expected being on a ship when we're deployed. It's really, really a high stress environment that we're constantly working. When we go out there, of course, we don't just cruise around. We really actually do the job, especially when we're being deployed into the Gulf and in the air. This is what we do. We drop the bombs. So there's something that really I never expected, that I have no life being on the ship until we pull in ports. Then we got a chance to go out and have some drinks and eat and shop, you know. And that's why you hear a lot of, you know, drunk sailors when we're pulling ports, because when we're on the ship, it was just a completely different world. You are stuck on the ship for months. I thought I would be able to handle it. It turned out to be not really.
I was used to the comforts that we have here in America, and when I went there I had just a little bed and a little, you know, I carried 2 bags and that was it. And when I came back here, you know, I was shocked at just stuff that we all have. The other thing that was shocking was being able to go to the bathroom in my bare feet. Walking on carpeting in my bare feet was wonderful. Brushing my teeth with water that wasn't going to make me sick was really, really a pleasure.
When I deployed, it was a little difficult coming back to the States, yes. I think the most problem that I had was I had to go grocery shopping for some food. I was so used to having like maybe 2 choices of an entree. I walked into Walmart, and there's like 6 million choices, and all I could do is just stand there, and I'm having a panic attack or an anxiety attack.
The military is just so much more of a person's life. It's not just their job, it's who they live with, who they eat with, who they're friends with.
We try to maintain the equality between, you know, males and females, but a lot of times people tend to pick on us because we're women. You know, even when we do like push-ups, you know, they were like, ha 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 ha, you know, how many times you can do, you know. Most of the females, including myself, who were kind of used to it, we know that they're not necessarily they really meant to attack us or put us down, but I guess subconsciously people would just keep doing it for a long time. Especially in the military, it's still a male-dominated society, and we constantly have what we call sexual harassment briefing. Something happens, sexual harassment, they have to resolve either within the chain of command, or you have to really bring it up to the spotlight and resolve that whole issue. It happens all the time, pretty much on every single ship, every single command, you'll hear it all the time. As a female being in the military back then, I have to constantly put on my guard, you know, an invisible wall.
Being a woman in a role of leadership, it was a little intimidating. I mean, I didn't really realize it at the time, but there was a lot of sexual harassment and, oh, you can get rank if you date me. And a lot of it had to do with being a female in a male-dominated situation.
That's a very lonely place for a woman, and oftentimes if she did experience it when she was in the military, she may not have said anything. She may have kept silence for many reasons. So there's issues of trust with women not knowing who they can take that story to, or if they should take that story to anyone. Some of the women return home and their families, depending on where they're from, may not receive somebody that has a story that she has been a victim of sexual trauma. And so there's a silence, and sometimes it's a deadly silence.
They often went through a lot in the investigation process. For a woman to come forward, her background is extensively investigated. That is like a secondary trauma, to have the people who are supposed to be on your side not believing you, second guessing you.
I'm the sexual assault response coordinator, and I'll be the only sexual assault response coordinator at the base I'm going to. Every base kind of has a different profile population. It's very difficult to say like a lot of reports is a bad thing, because there could be no reports at another base even though it's happening at that base. It's a really hard subject, and it's a tough situation to deal with when you are talking to someone who's been victimized in that very personal way. It's really tough to remember that there is like a lot of good in the world when you have to talk to people who have experienced such terrible things. The other coping mechanism is just to ignore the fact that it's happening. And even as a sexual assault response coordinator, where it's like my job to think about it, it's hard to think. It's just hard to. It's a hard pill to swallow.
I didn't tell anyone about it for years because I didn't want to jeopardize my career in the military. I didn't want to show weakness or bring down the spirits of my comrades. When I was in Italy, it happened again with a fellow soldier. And this time I was brutally raped. You know, they did nothing. They took his pay for a month. So I had a nervous breakdown and I got out and I came back to the United States. Every weekend I would get a hotel room by myself and close the windows, the curtains, and have a bottle of gin. I became an alcoholic and an addict and homeless. And the majority of women, veterans that you see that are homeless have experienced that kind of trauma. Now here they're already victimized by the rape, and then they're gonna victimize again by the military superiors, the captains, commanders, and don't get their benefits. So they're put out with no education benefits, no housing, no medical, no nothing. So I've had to help them to fight to get their benefits.
If there's been military sexual trauma, there's 4 times the incidence of homelessness. But that's not the only reason for homelessness. I think it's very complicated.
I've been on and off homeless, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 times now.
I was homeless for 12 years because I have gone through the ropes of getting all my benefits, my education, my house, all the benefits that the VA owes me I got. I try and let all the women know how to go about getting it and what they deserve.
A female veteran returning who is a single parent, and I've talked to several of them, and if they don't have a job, if they don't have education or skills that are transferable to get them a job, it's really hard. It's really hard to come back or to go to war and to serve your country and then come back for a man or a woman and there's no employment, or there's housing issues, or they come back to a community that's torn up, that's not supportive, or that's not solid. And they may come back to children that are dealing with the isolation that they felt when their mom was gone or their parents were gone. And sometimes a woman comes back to a household where she's got a husband, when it's traditionally the husband that's gone off to war and the woman is at home, and that's like a changing role. And there's conflict in all of that.
My first identity is being a mom, and so being away 6 months was a long time. It's just more difficult when the day actually comes. It's hard to leave your children with someone else, especially for married couples who are both deploying. And you really don't know what that's like unless you actually go through it. When I got back, it was like culture shock. Children, especially younger children, really don't appreciate what you've been doing. They just know that you've been gone. You've missed their birthday, or you've missed Christmas, or you've missed many times that they would have liked to have you there. The military tries its best to learn many different things to help children, to help families and parents through that time to keep connected with their children. And when they get back, things to do to help the family reconnect and get into a routine again.
It wasn't easy. I mean, there was times when she came back from deployment. It was a shock to see her changed so much. She went from this goofy kind of person to this very serious, very short fuse, not a happy person. And I was glad she was out of that environment, because the person I knew her to be was buried by frustration and by anger and things like that.
It's really, really a high stress environment that we're constantly working. Unlike like a civilian world here, you got 9-to-5 job, you get off from work, you can go home, do your own things. Being on the ship when we're deployed, it's completely different. It has a huge impact on every single family, and these families have to stay home and deal with it. And just what we call like suck it up, you know. You're in the military, you sign up for it, this is what you sign up for. My best friend, a very bright young lady, she's a mom of 2, working really hard, always striving for something better for herself, for her family, and for her children. She always got all kinds of medals and awards, you know, the Quality of Sailor, you know, you name it. Everybody knew about her. If it wasn't her, I won't be here. I won't be able to get through all those really tedious procedures being in the military. It's a lot of paperwork, a lot of stuff that I need to learn. And ironically, by the time I left the Navy, it was almost her time to move on to the next command. And ever since, we still kept in touch, and until a year later, almost like Christmas time, my old boss, he actually called me out of the blue, and he was like, "Hey, Hoyt, you know, I got bad news." And he was like, "Portia just got killed." I'm like, "What?" And I was like, "She just came back from her deployment. She just went through a 6-month deployment. Her husband killed her, and then he killed himself." I just lost it. They were like a perfect couple at the command. Everybody knew about it.
I think that no one comes home from war and does not have some pain. I think it's something that affects every single person that leaves their home, that vows to give their life for their country and goes to a foreign place and endures what the men and women of our Army and our Navy and our Marines and Air Force and Coast Guard have to endure.
After the military, I had a lot of depression issues, PTSD, and I withdrew a little bit. I was a bit of a hermit. I had a lot of family who was like, "Oh, PTSD, I don't know if I want to deal with you." And I had family actually join the military after me, and they were my main support because they'd been there, they experienced military.
Yeah, I'm anticipating when I'm in the deployed location and by myself that it's going to be hard. I rely on Tessa a lot to just remind me that good relationships exist. Being able to come home and like just hold my wife, because so much of the comfort is communicated physically.
I think it's hard to know that like you're going to be going through challenging things and I won't really understand what they are really, and nor can you like explain a lot of details without like breaking confidentiality, or like I don't even need to know what was going on. It's gonna be hard not to support you and to know that you're having a hard time. But I don't know how I feel about it. I haven't really like understood how it's gonna make me feel. I'm obviously just gonna feel a little bit like useless not being able to support you, but also like it's hard to just think about it all the time because you're not even like I can't text you throughout the day because you're going to be sleeping, and I don't know.
It's 11-hour time difference, so like when you're waking up, I'll be going to sleep. It'll be a hard challenge, I think, to to make the connection over FaceTime or
that's true.
blogs and emails.
Well, it will definitely suck not to have my tea brought to me in the morning. A lot of people like that aren't involved in the military don't really, and I'm not a military person myself. I've never like really had a friend who's deployed or anything. Like I don't really understand what it'll be like, and neither does anyone who's not really involved in the military. I guess I still have a stereotype in my mind about what a military wife is like, and I don't feel like I fit into a deployed spouse's category.
Because most of my friends that work on base don't have a spouse.
A woman's role is very, very different than it was, during World War I and even in Vietnam. So there's dynamics that society is learning and that women and men are learning. And yes, they are issues that are new to all of us. And the city does need to be prepared to address that and to be of service to the women veterans and men veterans.
So in 1979, when I went to the VA with the nervous breakdown after that trauma, there were no services for women. specifically. They didn't know what to do with me. There wasn't a women's clinic. There was nothing. Since I started the program at U.S. Vets for women, more women have been able to get help. There's a women's clinic at the VA, at every VA now. A lot of women just don't want anything to do with the VA after they're out the military at all.
There's a lot of programs, but sometimes it takes a little while to get into those. Job programs, education programs, but sometimes there's a gap and it's hard to make it from one to the next.
My transition from the military to civilian life was rough, rugged, but I had help along the way. I started in an art therapy group called the Rock Club, so to speak, and while I was there in that office doing my rock therapy with the rocks, I saw a poster that said Rock for Vets music therapy program starting. And they did a benefit concert in the beginning of 2010, and at the end of September, October, we started a music therapy rock band called Rock for Vets. After we went from a choir program, the Rock for Vets group received a bunch of instruments, and we had a full-fledged rock band. It was a little intimidating at first, but the Rock for Vets gave me the confidence to carry it out into my, personal dreams and ventures of playing with my church band. And overall, it's that music therapy that just warmed my soul, and no matter what came through, I was able to endure and learn from it.
When she left the military, it actually was a really great learning experience because for once I got to see the military do something right.
They call it like chronic pelvic pain. That's something I never had before I joined the military, and then it's just getting worse. The physical pain was aggravated by my job, obviously, because they put me on medications trying to make sure I'm able to work again. It just caused a lot of hiccups and never get any better. Went through the medical board evaluation, and it took a while, and finally the board result came back. Got a phone call from the Naval Hospital from my chief, and he was like, "Hey Hoy, you are going home, pack your stuff, you are medically retired." Because of that, it pushed me to a new journey. Because of my health issue, I was motivated to find something that my physical body will allow me to do, to survive, to live. So that's why I move on to the next chapter in my life, which is now studying holistic medicine and using the holistic medicine to be able to help myself, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to help other veterans.
When you think about the history of women in the military and women veterans, and women became a more accepted part of the military during the General Eisenhower days. We've evolved, and I think society's thoughts about women has evolved, and that's good. It's a good thing. It may not be very, very fast, but it is a good thing that it's happened. I think that people, businesses, companies need to be able to utilize their resources to help veterans. I think that we're a very rich nation, and we have extraordinary progress and companies that are very, very prosperous. And I think every single business owner, every single corporation, every single person that has the resources to provide jobs and provide job training for veterans, for women, and for people coming back into our society from deployment, that we need to honor them. We need to honor them with the integrity of being able to be employed and to take care of their families. I think that when people understand the sacrifice that someone makes to go to war or to go into the military, to give up the comfort of their lives, that needs to be honored by those of us who don't make that sacrifice. And that needs to be part of how we think, more than just, seeing a veteran and saying thank you for your service. Think about what can you do? What can we do as citizens who are protected by people who have given up their lives for service of this country. Because I'm a woman, that doesn't mean that I'm any less fearless or any less courageous or any less patriotic. I'm a warrior just like a man.